Ethical issues in psychological inquiry. Ethical means in accordance with rule or standards. That is, to follow certain rules and regulations. Psychology is a very sensitive field. Why? Because psychological researches involve inspection or inquiry of the human behavior. We will see the ethical issues in the psychological inquiry in detail. Before going to that, please remember to subscribe the channel. Thank you. Ethical issues. The researcher have to follow various ethical guidelines while doing the psychological inquiry. Ethical guidelines may limit the psychological inquiry, but the psychologist should respect the privacy of the participant and should follow these ethical guidelines. Voluntary participation, informed consent, deception, debriefing, permission to withdraw from participation, confidentiality, and safety of the participant. These ethical issues in psychology will help discover the various areas in the field that should be tread upon with sensitivity. Voluntary participation. It refers to the exercise of free will. That means the participant have the right to decide whether to participate in a research activity or not. Every participant in the research should voluntarily participate in it, and they should not be forced to do so. For example, when recruiting participants for an experiment, you inform all the potential participants that they are free to choose whether they want to participate, and they can withdraw from the study anytime without any negative consequences. So it is up to the participant to decide on whether to participate in a research or not. Informed consent. All the participants should be aware of the kind of tests that are going to be conducted and the effects of each test on them. Informed consent requires the participant to give the researcher written consent for the test to be carried out. So, all the participants should be aware of the kind of test and must get a written consent from the participant before involving them into the research. For example, if you are conducting a survey, make sure to provide all potential participants with all the relevant information, like what the study is about, the risk and benefits of taking part in the study, then how long the study will take, then your supervisor's contact information and the institution's approval number. You also let them know that their data will be kept confidential and they are free to stop filling in the survey at any point for any reason. They can also withdraw their information by contacting you or your supervisor. So this is about the informed consent. Deception. No participant should be deceived or misguided regarding the test. So the researcher cannot misguide a participant, and no information should be withheld from the participant. You need to give clear-cut idea and the complete information that a participant should know. All the details should be given to the participant. You should not withhold any information from them. However, in some case, deception is an inherent part of research. In such cases, it should be ensured that deception is the only alternative to carry out the research. Without that, you won't be able to conduct a research. In such cases, you can do a relative deception. Then, participants should at least have a general idea of what is to be expected in the course of research. Then, research misconduct. It means making up or falsifying data. You collected the data. Then what you do? You manipulate the data analysis or misrepresent the result in the report. This is a kind of academic fraud and the researcher should avoid this. Debriefing. It is the responsibility of the researcher to ensure that the participant is not psychologically or emotionally affected after participating in the research. So the participant was okay before the research, but after the study is done, if the participant is psychologically or emotionally down, that situation does not happen. So the researcher should ensure that thing. Then the expected result of the research that should be communicated to the participant so that they can prepare for the result. In short, they should not be overwhelmed after the research is over. The way you communicate your research result can sometimes involve ethical issues also. So the communication must be honest, reliable, and credible. It's best to make your result as transparent as possible. So the debriefing helps the participant not to affect emotionally and they won't be overwhelmed by the result of the research after the study. Permission to withdraw from participation. Every participant should be allowed to withdraw from the research process at any time when they feel uncomfortable or uneasy, irrespective of the payment incentive provided to them. So, in any situation, the participant has the right to withdraw from the research process. Confidentiality. It means that you know who the participants are, but you remove all the identifying information from your report. All the participants have a right to privacy. So, you should protect their personal data for as long as you store or use it. So, the researcher should ensure the privacy of the participant. For example, to keep your data confidential, you take steps to safeguard it and prevent any threats to the data privacy. You store all the signed consent form in a locked file drawer and you password protect all the files with survey data. So, you should respect the right to privacy of each participant and you should protect the personal data. So, this is about the confidentiality of the research. Safety of the participant. All the participants should be asked if they have any pre-existing conditions that can interfere with the research, either physical or psychological. So, must collect data about that, the pre-existing conditions that may interfere with the research. Then, potential for harm. Sensitive questions that can trigger negative emotions such as shame or anxiety. Then sometimes participation can involve social risk, public embarrassment or stigma. Sometimes pain or injury can result from the study procedures. And in some other cases, reporting sensitive data could lead to legal risk or a breach of privacy. So, while conducting a research, adequate protection must be provided to them in such a case, or they should not be allowed to participate if the intensity of the condition cannot be altered. For example, in a study on stress, consider you are surveying college students. Some of the questions may bring up negative emotions. So, as a researcher, you should inform the participants about the sensitive nature of the survey and assure them that their responses will be confidential. So, the researcher must ensure the safety of the participant. Let's have a quick recap on what we have learned regarding the ethical issues in psychological inquiry. The participation must be voluntary. Do not force them. Then, informed consent should be taken from the participant. Then, do not cheat them, giving false information. Then, debriefing. Give possible information to them regarding the study and the result. Then give permission to withdraw from participation at any point of the study. Then confidentiality. Respect the right to privacy of each participant. Then safety of the participant must be ensured by the researcher. Hope you like this video. Please share. Thank you and keep smiling.